And good morning and welcome to WPRK. This is To a Certain Degree. I guess not welcome to WPRK. You've been listening to it for some time now. My name is Nick, and I'm here. I'm joined with a very special guest. I'm trying to think of how to describe him properly. He is effervescent. He is much more handsome than I am, which I resent and respect at the same time. Marc Collins.
Kind of you on both accounts there.
Thanks for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. Good morning and welcome to WPRK. Oh, you already did that part.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I did that.
I need to go back to the script.
Well, thank you. So we're actually going to talk about a lot of different things today. We've got a lot of wonderful topics, so stay tuned. And if you're not at the radio dial or in front of a radio dial, you could always listen on WPRK.org. And you can check out a little bit of what we're going to talk about and then see what the things that we've done at toacertaindegree.com, which is a website.
Oh, so they can't look at the website on their radios?
No, they can't.
I don't understand exactly how it works.
It's all new to me as well.
All right, very good.
To a certain degree.
Oh,
I should have actually.
Okay,
yeah, because there's apparently a number of different ways to spell that.
I guess so, at least 3.
Yeah.
Which is ironic since the word is 2.
2. Darn it. So we just heard from Mike Snow. That was a song named Genghis Khan. And then OK Go before that with a song that I can't remember the name of. So I could turn around. It's all the way on.
Can't help you there.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted to play that, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, which is great, is you're a very visual guy. You're very much a movie buff. And so a lot of the stuff that I think is lost on me in terms of the visuals is something that you'd pick up on.
And I think that's a great fit then because you're very passionate about music, and the values of the music are often lost on me when I'm in a very cinematic mindset.
And we're both, I think as far as architecture goes, I have no idea.
No. Yeah. It's like dancing about it.
Right. So Genghis Khan by Mike Snow, which is a band that I don't know where they're from, and I don't know what other songs they've done.
They do songs with 2 eyes when there should only be one.
Yeah,
Mike. That's inspired by their
Mike Snow
band name.
But what was interesting about it is, just like a lot of songs, you see the video and then that's what you kind of glom onto. So
yeah.
I don't know what the experience was because we actually were enraptured by the video watching it again here while the song was playing.
It's a great story.
It really is. It really is. So I think one of the things I wanted to talk about today was when you can't separate the song from the video, when it's so intertwined, and we'll talk about a couple of other bands who've done that. I think OK Go is, and that's one of the reasons I want to play one of their songs, is just the poster child for that movement, which is all about the video, and to an extent they've gone away from the music.
To a certain degree.
Yeah. Nice. That was good.
do you see what I did there?
But this Mike Snow video was it was frankly better than Spectre, the most recent James Bond movie.
Kind of a low bar, but sure, yes.
Yeah. Well, yes. Good point. But it had a full story. It had a funny story. I think it wasn't predictable. And
it also had a great message.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was rock solid from an art direction and, visual thematic standpoint. They just nailed since The Incredibles, probably nobody has gotten like art design, art direction as right as they have replicating like the Dr. No era Bond films.
Right.
Even down to like film stock and coloration, it was visually dead on.
So do you think they'll ever do a sequel to it because it was just so good?
Well, I think they set themselves up for it with that closing moment. But personally, I think the story is told.
And it's done.
It's done. Yeah, I think they've shown that they're capable of doing that. So let's have a new story. This isn't Hollywood. We're not obligated to follow it up and try to make more money with the sequel.
That's a good point. And just so to describe it to people, it was very much a James Bond-esque scene.
Right, supervillain has captured super spy in his secret lair.
Is about to kill him, and then it's 5 o'clock, so everybody has to go home. And the supervillain goes home to his family and seemingly unhappy.
And you get these great visual cues, and that's all in the performance.
Yeah.
Just this really subtle looks between the actor playing the wife and the actor playing the supervillain husband.
Right.
You just see that they're not clicking.
Well, and I thought what really struck me, especially this time through, is the dancing. So there's not a lot of dancing in it, but there's enough dancing that it really helps push the story along. Mm-hmm. So the supervillain is obviously a peacock at first. Like he's about to kill him, and there's these flourishes and these little dance moves as he's about to press the button.
Right.
And then later on, when he releases the spy, he's like, you know what? I'm not going to kill you. I just want you to go because this is, and we find out later why. They dance together. And so that was their acceptance of each other, or at least the acceptance of the supervillain. So you really like the supervillain in this.
Yeah, well, you feel for him because at first you despise him. You're supposed to. He's ugly. He's missing his nose and part of his face, and it's covered with a prosthetic. But then, when you see how unhappy he is, and you see the self-loathing, and he sees the wife and the children, you see that he wants to be happy with them and just can't be, and he resents himself for it. Then you really the pathos then starts to kind of play in. Yeah, and I dig that. Yeah, you start to sympathize with him. I dig pathos. Okay. That is a very, very academic expression.
I'm totally into all this pathos.
Yeah, and then when he comes back and he releases them, and you see even there's kind of a moment when he's sitting in bed with the wife with whom he just doesn't connect, that he's kind of thinking about that spy. So you're already getting a little bit of a sense of why he's preoccupied. Then he releases him, and the spy chooses to stay, and then they dance together, and then you see them back in the now happy home, and that they really are connected, and you see, okay, this is what a happy couple is supposed to look like. This is what a relationship and a family is supposed to look like. And it's beautiful. So you got all those layers going on with what I would consider to be, and please correct me if I'm wrong here from a purely academic musical standpoint, a kind of a disposable song. Like the song only stays with me because of the story of the video. But and we should throw this in too, though. I think maybe it has a lot to do also with what you saw or heard first. Like if I was a big fan of Mike Snow and I had been listening to this song and I'd gotten the album the moment it was available for download, and then saw the video, then it's like, okay, now I have a new take on it. But for me, I'm picking up both at the same time, so they're inseparable.
I think
that way, just for chronology.
Right. I think that's huge for it. And I think that OK Go, we heard. Here's the song that we heard. That was Crash the Party. Okay, so that was one of their earlier songs. So one of the songs that I sent you to look at, and you can see this on toacertaindegree.com because I put up all the different videos, was the Rube Goldberg one. Yeah. Which is amazing. And it's still a very good song. So I do like to listen to that by itself. But to an extent, I still, will think about that particular video when I'm watching it. But for this one, now it's completely inseparable. I have to watch the video. I have to show it to people when I'm talking about it. Because you're right. It's a good song, but it's not one that is going to go into my routine playlist. It's not going to be one that I repeat forever. And I think that's interesting to an extent, because how do you separate that when you're an artist and you're creating these things? Are you thinking about that? Are you thinking about just what the visual interpretation is going to be? Oh gosh, and what I'm thinking of course, is kind of the business end of all this, and how little control the artists have, especially earlier in their careers, before they can really command what it is they're truly doing. And you probably talk about this a little bit later when we look at Radiohead and what's done with some of their early videos, where regardless of what the artist who were recording the song thought the vision might be. I mean, think of the Monkees. How often do you think of the Monkees? Daily. I certainly do. Oh, the band? Also the band. Yes. They're brought together, they're assembled, they're like, one of the early boy band, sort of things. They're kind of assembled by the studio interests who are trying to fit a certain demographic and sell records, and in this case also sell a TV show, where they had zero control of how they were presented. And so I often think of artists like that as they're at the mercy of whoever is kind of pull the strings and make this. And so does somebody come up with this idea for this Rube Goldberg machine in this OK Go video, and the artists say, this has nothing to do with their song. And they say, we don't care. This will click with people somehow. This will make you. And now the artists are saying, okay, well, we're singing the songs, but we've really just turned into YouTube actors. I often think of the Kingston Trio for a lot of different reasons also, but Bob Shane would tell a story that they were a calypso group in Northern California. They were doing calypso songs, and they recorded their first album. And they put a folk song on it, Tom Dooley, and
and it blew up nationwide, and they became an international sensation over this song. And the way Bob Shane tells it, Capitol Records came to them with a box of money and said, "You are now folk singers." And he said, "You bet your tail end we are."
I wish somebody would come to me with a box of money.
Meet the demand. Would you become a folk singer?
I
brought you a box
feel
of money?
like I could be.
Yeah. That's it. Like the moral of the story kind of being, once you found a commercial, a channel for commercial success, that is the channel you will be pushed into, and you can do your very best to break out of that channel later if you develop enough clout, and if you have enough base talent in a different direction to break out anyway. Otherwise, you're just Don Johnson trying to record an album after the success of Miami Vice.
And there was nothing wrong with that. I mean, everything was wrong with that.
I think everything was wrong with that, but there's nothing wrong with trying.
Right.
I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I think, in going back to OK Go, it's This Too Shall Pass is the name of the song, the Rube Goldberg Machine video. If you haven't seen it, I'm surprised because it's pretty well known, but go see it. And then check out Mike Snow, Genghis Khan. What also was interesting about that for me was it completely took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting either video to be as engaging as it was, or that interpretation of the song. So I wouldn't have thought of that. And I think that's nice because we all have our own interpretations of songs, especially ones that are very meaningful to us. So if you listen to Radiohead, for example, if that's one of your favorite bands and you like Fake Plastic Trees or Creep or something along those lines, then sometimes the visuals of the video don't mesh with that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because you have your interpretation, and sometimes it ruins it. Like the Fake Plastic Trees original video.
Visuals are very powerful. It's hard to extract that from your memory. Yeah, it's kind of a sense memory gets connected.
Terrible. I don't think I've ever seen it, or if I did see it back in the day, I pushed it completely out of my mind.
The video for
Fake Plastic Trees. It's awful. It is just awful. Tom York's like bleached blonde hair, the whole 9 yards, because you could just see what they were doing to these guys. And then, so on the website, you could also see the one for Karma Police, which I think just very full of dread.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. But yeah, so if I'm surprised by the interpretation, if I'm pleasantly surprised by the interpretation, then I like that a lot better, but I still may not like the song.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, and we'll hear another one of those coming up, but let's play a song. We'll take a break.
Okay.
And so this is from a visually appealing movie, Swingers. So this is Joey Altruda with Moochie's Jag MK2. I think that's the name of the song. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Yeah. So this is To a Certain Degree. I'm Nick.
I'm Mark.
And you're listening to WPRK, Winter Park, Florida. And welcome back. This is WPRK. You're listening to a certain degree.
Right. You got to get the preposition back in there.
All those prepositions. My name is Nick.
I'm Mark.
And you just heard from Sigur Rós with Glossally from their album Tack. And before that, Joey Altruda from the Swinger soundtrack, going back to, what was that, 97?
Yeah, thereabouts.
98, somewhere.
Jon Favreau, before he got fat, before he got skinny, before he got back fat. But he was always a talented filmmaker. Always.
Moochie's Jag MK2 was the name of that song. So we're talking a little bit about music videos because I have the great advantage of having a guest who understands visuals significantly more than I do. And that was a great video. So we just watched Sigur Rós Glossally. What was your take on that one? Because it was completely unexpected for me. I love the band.
Right.
And because they don't sing in any particular language, if I remember correctly,
it's Icelandic.
Is it?
It is, yeah.
I thought they just made up their own language for some reason.
No, it is translatable.
Okay, so I guess that if you're listening to Icelandic, you might just think that it's a made-up language. No offense to all of our Icelandic audience.
There are an awful lot of hash marks and apostrophes and dashes and emphases and things like that, yeah.
All right, so what was your take on that?
Well, I think that video is magical, and to me, it's almost inextricable. Well, it is inextricable through the song because it is so stylistically appropriate. And I have to credit my friend Sean Paikai, a great artist, and great sense of cinema and music and photography. He introduced me to Sigur Rós and to this song in this video. It's both the song and the video have this amazing otherworldly quality, very ethereal. The video is extremely cinematic. If you haven't seen it, it's a bunch of Icelandic children, these beautiful and innocent and really interesting looking Icelandic children in kind of classic historical Icelandic garb, trotting this otherworldly landscape and kind of a Pied Piper sort of scenario where they keep collecting more children and pulling them all together, and they ultimately band together and leap off into the world very magically. If you haven't watched the video, I won't spoil it for you, but it's a beautiful set of visuals, and the dynamics of the song build with the dynamics of the story arc, and they pay off simultaneously. It's a beautiful experience musically and visually, and to me that's a kind of a perfect marriage, a perfect use of the media.
Right. And luckily with them, with Sigur Rós, I think in general, is a band you can listen to at any time. So you don't need the visuals to make the song for you, because that's easy to interpret because there's no words.
Right. Well, and I mean,
there are words.
There are words, but since they're so literally foreign to us, that you're not distracted by hearing a very specific meaning. And I think opera is that way. For me, there are operas written in English, but I don't speak fluently any other languages. So I can listen to opera in German or French or Italian, and really be transported by the music and listen to the voice as another instrument rather than being specifically pulled into the literal meaning of the words. And listening to Sigur Rós is very similar.
Right.
That you can apply your own meaning to it. But now I can't listen to that song without also following the journey of those children across the landscape, because it meshes so beautifully with the dynamics of the music.
Well, I think that's where their music and poetry and things like that, even books to an extent, are very similar, because your interpretation of them might be different than the artist's.
Oh, sure.
So if you were to hear that song first, maybe it would remind you of a different time in your life, or it was a very specific thing, or you would relate it to this. And then you would see their interpretation, and you might agree with it. It might be surprising and delightful to you. It might be just so completely different than what you thought that maybe you're not a fan of it anymore. It's almost like reading a book again after maybe you read it when you were 12, and then you read it again now, and you're like, wow, that is not as meaningful. Or
you see a film adaptation of it.
Right, exactly.
That takes you out of it. But I mean, returning at least once more, if I may, to glossally, one of the reasons I think it works so well is that regardless of whether, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily have pictured the story told in the video when you're watching the song, but there is an emotional core to it that resonates so accurately that I can't imagine that you could listen to the song and then watch the video and think that the video didn't also, pluck that same string.
Yeah.
Whereas in a lot of cases, like, you could certainly listen to Genghis Khan and that the video could be anything.
That's true. It was surprising and it was delightful, but
but
it could be anything.
Yeah,
else.
There's no. I mean, that story that could have been just a director or a music producer saying, "I've got this amazing idea for a video. Let's find a song that we can apply it to, that we can just sort of layer it on top of."
Right.
Which is certainly a valid use of the the power of the industry.
Sure.
But I think artistically, what Sigur Rós did with that is something that's rare and beautiful.
Well, the way I would describe it is a very cinematic approach, because it just reminded me of a short film more than a music video. And one of the other ones that's up on the site, toacertaindegree.com, was a song called Scissors by a band called Liars.
Yeah.
Which to me was a horror movie.
Yeah.
And I loved it. But, I've tried, and it got me to the point where I bought the song because of it. And then I listened to the song a couple times, and I really
the song's not that great, right?
It's it builds up, and then it's dun 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 dun, dun. It's very hardcore in certain parts, and that's when a lot of the action is happening in the music video. But yeah, I didn't, once I bought it, so I guess maybe the video was effective in that sense, because it got me to purchase the song. But yeah, it was a little too hardcore for me as far as the song goes, but the video is excellent.
The video is fantastic, and I think the video builds that sense of dread that you mentioned earlier. That great sense of dread that allows when the dynamics of the music pick up and the dynamics of the story and the video pick up, they align. That they wouldn't if you weren't watching. That you're just listening to the song and say, "Oh, okay, now it's this part," before they start pounding on things and screaming.
Right. Yeah, so watching that, I didn't want to go out on a boat. So if you haven't seen the video, yeah, so basically there's a guy on a life raft, and he wakes up. He's obviously been there for a while, and he sees a rock next to him. He's like, where? What? Rock? And then he falls back asleep, I think, and then he wakes up again. There's more rocks.
Well, I think it's critical story-wise. He removes the rock. He's threatened by the rock. Says, this shouldn't be in here. This is literally weighing me down. I'm in a life raft in the middle of the ocean. Throws the rock out and then falls asleep again.
Wakes up and there's a lot more rocks.
There are more.
Yeah, in the life raft. Then he sees a boat. He goes to the boat. Chaos.
And that builds a couple of times that you begin to see that every time he throws the rocks out, there more come back. You know, the traditional, the Greek mythological element of the Hydra. You know, you strike off a head and two more grow back. Every time he tries to remedy the situation, he makes it worse.
I love how it always goes back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe with you.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah.
I thought I said, for the love of Pete. For the love of Pete Segaros.
Oh, Pete Segaros. That would be pretty funny if it was somehow related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which we're not going to talk about today.
No,
plenty of other topics.
We do. We've got some great topics. And just to put a bow on kind of that whole video. Yeah, then right. He gets on the boat, and then it keeps happening. He sees other victims, and then the rocks start flying out of the water and striking him and striking the boat. And there's some wonderful life lesson there about not dealing with things the right way. Maybe a similar story to Karma Police.
Yeah. So obviously something bad has happened. This gentleman that's being chased by the car, which Tom York is in the back of, is very, and I love it because it's kind of like a Flintstone cartoon where they can't run sideways.
Right.
Jerry is running away and Tom is running one way.
It can only run in a
just turn left.
Linear.
Yeah. So he's running down the road. He's being chased by this car, kind of Christine-esque, car that seems to be possessed because there's no one driving. Tom York's in the back singing. This guy's running, and then he realizes the car backs up when it's almost like it's being confronted by the person. The guy finally turns around and confronts the car. He's like, okay, I accept my fate. And the car backs up as if it's going to, gain some speed to strike him. But it just sits there. He notices the gas. The car catches fire with Tom York in it, which would be a tragedy. Because
it would. He's a treasure.
Tom York is a national treasure.
Not our nation.
Right.
But,
they're like the Coldplay of England.
He's Japanese?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. That nation.
Yeah. Japan would be...
They'd be devastated.
Devastated. 100%.
By the loss of him. But I think there's also, there's another layer there that we haven't even gotten into, which is the name of the song carries something with it too. Because if you
right.
Now you hear Karma Police when you're starting this and you're already wondering how that might play. What does that mean? So now you see a guy being chased by a car and, despite the onomatopoeia of car and karma, but still the guy's being chased. And now who is the Karma Police? Who is enforcing karma? You're going to assume that this guy has done something wrong and karma is chasing him. But by the end of it, by the turnaround, it could have been the other way around where the guy is actually karma. The car was the one who has violated the, universal principles and that need to be enforced.
And I think that for me, the song was, until I saw the video, was kind of lighthearted. Karma Police, we're always talking about karma.
Right.
Oh, that's going to get you. Karma paid me back. And, it's usually little things, funny things. It's raining and I was going outside and because I, washed my car or something like that.
Right.
I learned irony from Alanis Morissette. Yeah. So I'm not really sure what ironic is.
Think? She's not either. So if that's any comfort.
She's not Alanis Morissette.
Not clear on the concept. Yeah.
No,
I think, and I'm sure this point has been made before, but I think what is really ironic is someone making an incredible amount of money on a song about an intellectual concept that they haven't really grasped. I think that's ironic.
Now, in her defense, because she is Canadian, as am I, that might be...
You guys are always sticking up for each other.
The Canadian interpretation of irony.
I don't think it's actually a different language.
Because nothing bad ever happens in Canada. Those are the worst things that have ever happened in Canada.
But it's not even irony. It's just coincidence. It's just negative coincidence. It's not
all
really...
All right.
Well, sorry, that's a different conversation.
We're not here to argue the pros and cons of Alanis Morissette yet.
Or the specific interpretations of intellectual concepts that you may or may not base songs off of.
So Karma Police was a very lighthearted song. I liked it. Karma Police. I would sing along. And then I saw that video and I was like, oh, this has another layer to it that I
Yeah.
didn't realize, which is, again, going back to that interpretation. And so I liked it, I think, even more, because then I was like, oh, I can add that to my pile of angry songs. Because I have a pile of angry songs and I have a pile of happy songs.
A literal pile?
Yeah, and the angry songs, if you were to put it on a scale, would far outweigh the happy songs. Because I feel like kind of an angry
Kind of
guy.
an angry dude, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I see that. And I think that's interesting that you would see Karma Police as an angry song where even after the video, I see it as maybe it's righteous anger. Maybe that's what I pulled from it.
Righteous indignation might be a better way to describe it.
Yeah, and you know that I think to a certain degree, all of Radiohead's songs they're so brilliant, but they also they're almost like an empty canvas. They're almost like a blank canvas because you can apply so many different stylistic interpretations. I think that's one of the reasons of their strength. You can bring a lot of your own. You can bring a lot of yourself into the music.
Right. It's baggage music.
It is. It's empty baggage music that you can fill with your own garbage that you've brought through your life to this point.
That's a perfect segue to the acoustic version of Fake Plastic Trees. We're going to play that on WPRK, Winter Park, Florida. You're listening. I got to get this right. You are currently tuned in to...
because it's doubling up the preposition.
This is To a Certain Degree.
There you go.
toacertaindegree.com, WPRK.org. My name is Nick.
My name is Mark.
And here's Radiohead.
Great song. Great songwriter. Great
They
band,
will be
great
missed.
song. They were national treasures.
Yes. Too soon. That were taken from us too soon.
Too soon.
Good morning. My name is Nick.
My name is Mark.
And you're listening to a show called To a Certain Degree on WPRK, Winter Park, Florida. I'm having some trouble trying to get that across.
I think you should call this, the byline, the tagline should be The Preposition Trap.
As we all are. So this is a show that I do from 7 to 9 every week. Mark is my esteemed guest this week. Thank you very much again for doing this.
Thanks for extending the invitation. This is fun.
And so I have a lot of respect for Mark. I've known him for a number of years. We've been through a lot together.
A high number of years, yeah.
Because I think that we've been on the earth around the same times for the most part. So we went to different high schools almost at the same time. We were both at UCF at different times. So really shared a lot of shared almost experiences between the two of us. And if I could describe Mark, he has, I think I mentioned this earlier, he has a certain effervescence about him.
Like Alka-Seltzer? Or is
yes,
that, okay.
Absolutely. You fizz quite a bit. I can constantly hear you. Not really sure what that is, but it sounds interesting. It's compelling in a way. He has feet, 6 of them. He's 6 feet tall.
Oh,
So.
okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I
was picturing this being a really effective runner.
Yes.
Just then. Back to the Flintstones thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And and you are actually the owner of Odyssey Creative here in town.
I am.
And you're very good at what you do. And what you do is being very good at it. So,
which is it's some great circular logic from which I never need to escape.
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm good at what I do. And what do you do? I'm good at it.
Yeah, very good at it. And it costs a lot of money.
Always.
If you want me to do it for you.
That's true. That's true.
So one of the things we were talking about yesterday, and I think this is interesting, is if you knew when you were going to die, would you live your life any differently?
Man, and that is an effective transition out of just about any Radiohead song.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the only topic you can talk about on the radio after you play Radiohead.
You know, when you first mentioned that notion of like an expiration date on your birth certificate, that struck me really deeply, and I wish I could say that I have put more thought into it since then, but it's such a terrifying notion that my brain keeps steering me away from it.
You push it right out, or you address it with humor, right? We'll joke about it, or we'll do something like that. So, and I think that comes with being incredibly self-aware, which is a curse. I don't see any good side to it, so I'm not really sure how to interpret that. But when you are self-aware, you get kind of into this analysis paralysis. When you start thinking about this, you spiral out of control because you're thinking about every potential thing that you haven't done, every potential regret you'll have on that last day or that last hour or the last seconds before this expiration date becomes, or goes into effect, if you will. And I think there are people who aren't self-aware who would know that, who would say, okay, I'm going to die in 5 years. I'm not going to do anything any differently.
Right.
And I admire and abhor them at the same time.
Well, yeah, and this is actually something my wife and I talk about this a lot. The idea of self-awareness and is ignorance bliss?
Right.
Are you actually happy or not thinking about? Because she and I are very similar in a lot of ways. One of those ways is that we overanalyze. We think about things. We talk about things. We do get into analysis paralysis a bit. I think it doesn't actually stop us from living our lives, but it can definitely.
Hamper.
Yeah, sometimes it's like swimming through glue. You're trying to move forward on something, but you can't not think about all the implications to it. And I think we do a good job of breaking out of that enough to still live. But would we be different if we were not self-aware, if we were not thinking about these things? And is it, in fact, a tremendous relief that we don't have those expiration dates? Because would that simply be too thick to swim through?
You'd be done. You'd be just sitting there waiting.
Could we overcome that? And actually, if we could overcome that, would we not then ultimately be much happier if we could just be at peace with it? Because bringing it back momentarily to the cinematic universe, I just saw the trailer for the new Star Trek, which I'm sorry if I upset anybody, does not look great. It looks disposable. It looks like another disposable sci-fi action film.
Yep.
And for those of you who are paying attention, the new director's cut of Star Trek Wrath of Khan, which is the only Star Trek film really worth watching, is dropping in a couple of days. But there's a one line in the trailer where Spock says, fear of death is illogical, which is a great sentiment, maybe the most valuable thing that will come out of that film. But yeah, fear of death is ultimately illogical, because what fear usually means is you're afraid of something that could happen. Well, it's death will happen. It will happen. There's no, being afraid of it is illogical. So maybe it's not really fear. Maybe it's dread. Maybe it's what you're really fearing is the loss of opportunity. I mean, what you're fearing is things that you aren't going to get to do or experience. And if you knew when that was all going to come to an end, would you be motivated
to do those things,
pack it all in, or would you be paralyzed by it? My wife made this great point too. We were talking the other day about kind of life and death, and the idea that when someone close to you, several people, close to us have passed away recently, which happens, unfortunately, as we begin to advance in years. It happens more often. And we all have these same reactions. Social media blows up with, people carpe diem, you got to live right now, you got to live the way you want to. And we mourn the loss of the person, and we mourn the loss of the opportunity to spend more time with them and to gain new experiences and memories from them. And we seize life, and we grab it by the throat and make it give us what we desire. And then a couple days later, we're back to eating Big Macs and sleeping in on Saturdays. It's just, it doesn't seem to last. It doesn't stick. So if you had this permanent reminder of your own mortality, would it drive us insane? Because even when something really impactful, the death of a close friend or family member happens, we still manage to push it out of our consciousness.
Because we have to. Yeah, because we have to move forward, and we can't think of because when, a few years ago, I had a friend and then a close family member pass away, and my regrets were all surrounded around, did I spend enough time with them? Did I help them enough?
Right.
Did I do enough to connect with them? And so I think that's part of it as well, because you feel that, or at least I do, that additional guilt of that loss of connection. So in many ways, that makes me not want to connect with additional people. So I think that's what the interpretation would be too for me, is that if I knew it was 5 years from now, I would start pushing people away as well. So I would isolate myself because I wouldn't want to put people through that.
Right.
And so, so that's a really...
Ironically, and that's greater compassion for humanity and selflessness in so doing. And you'd be doing what the great sacrifice of Rick at the end of Casablanca.
Yes, but it's also selfish too, in a way, because then I'm going to miss out, or they're going to miss out on having me in their lives. And I'm wonderful.
I would agree.
And so that's suddenly something that they're going to regret. that I wasn't more in their lives because I was pushing them away because I was going to die.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I guess the Casablanca thing is an oversimplification. But yeah, that's true. If we
so awesome.
You really are. You're amazing. This is incredible. It's not just the beard. Yeah, that we do have these bilateral connections with people, and that if we were to start extracting ourselves early to preserve their happiness, what would we miss, and what would they miss?
Right.
Or would we all simply do the Zion thing and just party like the machines are coming?
Oh, that's a better idea.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And then turn into batteries for the machines, for said machines.
Mr. Anderson. Yeah, see, immediately we start talking about death, and I want to hide in movies and humor.
Yeah.
Because it's scary.
So this is a pretty lighthearted show. It's called To a Certain Degree. Mm-hmm. We do this every
real lighthearted, Nick. Thanks.
From 7 to 9. I have guests on, and then I make them talk about their mortality and things of that nature. If you'd like to call in and talk about your mortality, the number to dial is 407-646-2915.
And if you have an expiration date on your birth certificate, we want to hear your story.
Oh, yeah.
If your name is Rel the Cyclops from Krull, we talked about, because he had an expiration date.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because you had a very good interpretation of that movie. I like it. It's a good sci-fi film. It was one of those you watched as a kid, so it was very foundational for me as far as sci-fi went.
Yeah, and like fantasy, like high fantasy sci-fi kind of.
Yep.
Really cross genres, maybe too much. But I think there are a lot of great points. I think what I said was that the screenplay to Krull might be better than the film. But that's one of those concepts. This race of people, the Cyclops people, who bargained with the big bad guy at one point in their cultural history, gave up one of their eyes in exchange for the ability to see into the future. But they were cheated. The only future they can see is the time of their own death. So the Cyclops lives his entire life knowing the day he's going to die and having to accept his fate. In the case of this one particular character, he knows the day he's going to die. That day comes. He doesn't go with the group of heroes because he's staying to accept his fate. But then ultimately he decides, no, if I'm going to die, I don't know how I'm going to die. I don't know where. I just know when. It's going to be today. I'm going to make the most of it. And he charges into battle knowing that he is not going to live to see the next morning. And he makes the most of his time there. Would we do that? If we had expiration dates, would we make the very most of every day starting today, or starting the day of your awareness? Or would you, kind of curl up into a ball and then do something heroic in your last moments?
I'm going to go with curling up in a ball.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think I probably would. Maybe I'd get over it eventually, but whoops. Was that social media?
Social media, you beautiful jerk.
Wow, yeah. Expiration dates. I think I'm glad I don't have one, because there's also an immediacy to, there's a spontaneity of life because it could end at any time. Because we are always reminded that we don't have this forever. We want to make the most of our time, but since something could happen unexpectedly at any time. It could be immediate. It could be, shorter term, but so we can constantly be reminded of that, but we also can push it away and say, but maybe we can keep going. Maybe we do have more time.
Right. And I think that's a good point, because it makes you appreciate it more now. Because I think that if you knew when you were going to die, you wouldn't appreciate anything. Nothing would be, for me at least, nothing would be good enough.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point, because I think you've hit on the key to all of this, because what keeps us going as humans, I think, is the idea of hope. Because the opposite of hope is despair, and despair is seeing no possibility for happiness. And if you look at life with endgame in mind, you could very legitimately ask, well, what's the point? What's the point of any of this? And then lose hope. Whereas the hope, even though it's technically false hope, because we are not immortal, and we know this, no matter how good our Scottish accents are, Highlander reference.
Oh, yeah.
Which is odd, because he was French.
Yeah.
If you didn't, gosh, I've tied myself up in a real sort of philosophical knot here, very existential pretzel. Can we name an independent band Existential Pretzel?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
If you constantly were aware that you were going to die, what hope would there be? Because you would kind of ask, what's the point of all of this, knowing that the experience will dissolve with your memory and consciousness. Sorry for people who are not atheist or agnostic on that particular point there.
That's okay. None of those people listen.
Oh, great. Whereas because we can kind of delude ourselves into at least temporary immortality, things that we do seem to have, or perhaps seem to have, more meaning than they ultimately would, because we can kind of tell ourselves, at least on some superficial layer, that we can stay at it. That what we learn and what we gain and what we strive for has meaning beyond ourselves. And this is a place too where you could legitimately gig me on that, because you are a parent and I am not, where you could say, yeah, but my purpose is to pass on what I've learned to my children. And I could say, perhaps less selfishly, that that I could, you're not agreeing with this, that maybe I could be passing along what I've learned to the world somehow, or I could create something to make the world a better place. But we're ultimately, as Americans, perhaps more as humans, extremely self-centered and focused on developing our own experiences. And within that, culturally, if we were not able to find some outlet for what we were doing, and also knew that there was an end date, would we just stop doing anything? Because what's the point?
Right. And I think, so let's talk about parenting in the next break, because we were going to talk about home. What does home mean? Yeah. So let's stop there, and we'll play a song right now.
Yes, please, for God's sake. This rabbit hole has gotten dark and terrifying.
I think this is pretty appropriate for what we're talking about. We'll hear a little bit from Prince. My name is Nick.
My name is Mark.
And you're listening to a show called To a Certain Degree on WPRK, Winter Park, Florida. And good morning, and welcome back To a Certain Degree. I'm just going to say it. The name of the show is To a Certain Degree, so that it was a very clever idea at the time, and it offers some challenges when you're actually saying you're listening to it. Welcome to a certain degree.
You could say you're hearing to a certain degree, but yeah, welcome to, you're listening to, you end with a preposition, the phrase, you start the title with a preposition. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
All right. My name is Nick.
My name is Mark.
Mark is my special guest today. I'm on here from 7 to 9, so sometimes it's just a lot of music and me rambling on a few things. Today, it's me and Mark, and we're rambling on about a lot of things. So that was Prince, to sort of end the conversation about death and expiration dates.
Death
so
and mortality. I think the Fringe Festival's really got that covered.
A few different things today. So let's switch to a more lighthearted topic. Marc Collins from Odyssey Creative. If I could describe him to you, he has hairs. He has a beard.
Fewer every year.
That he needs to work on. I think the beard needs a little more volume and depth.
Yeah.
But not you.
Kind of like me.
You have
I could also use some more volume.
Maybe a little more volume. Not so much on the depth. So
there's a fader for that on volume.
But also wearing a black V-neck shirt, which I think is, the indicative of his creativity level.
Well, it's a Steve Jobs kind of thing. I've decided to start wearing just these black V-neck T-shirts, because then I don't have to make that decision every morning.
Right.
So I just bought a ton of them.
That saves your brain powers for other things, like being a successful businessman. Is that how you say it? Businessman. Businessman.
Yeah, M-I-N. Businessman. Yes.
So I would like to share some ideas that I have for businesses with you.
Well, sure. And can I qualify that first by to say successful business? That's a very generous description.
I think it's accurate, though. How long has Odyssey Creative, if I remember correctly, just celebrated its
15 years last month. Yeah.
And so I think in anybody's book, that would qualify you for a candidacy for president.
Well, again, very generous of you. Thank you for saying so. I started saying several years ago that survival is success. I'm not a 1%er. But yeah, if you have the opportunity to, whether you are an owner or an employee, if you have the opportunity to do things that you really love and make your living at it, then that is success. So by that, I will absolutely hang on to the success thing, because I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do things that I really like.
There you go. I wish you were more humble, though. I feel like that was not at all.
If I did not own my own business that was doing just well enough for me to live my life the way I want to, I would not be able to come in here this morning and chat with you. So
That's true.
That's a lot of fun, you know.
All right. So can I pitch my idea?
Yeah.
Shark Tank style.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I've never seen the show.
Okay.
So the first one is Kickstarter, but
I think it's already actually been done. I think it's a great idea.
Just wait.
But I think someone's already done it.
For conspiracy theorists. So what you do as a conspiracy theorist,
I already love this,
is you're able to go on and pitch your idea and then raise money so that you can continue the investigation
to promote
of said idea.
your conspiracy
and
theory. Yeah, that's a part of it.
And promote it. So if it's, the moon landing and you don't believe in that, or certain JFK stuff, or more modern theories, because it's old. Nobody really likes those. Maybe it's about The Shining. And
a great documentary made about some of those theories.
So my personal favorite one is mainly sports related. So if you're familiar with Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, they're two football players, quarterbacks.
Right.
There was actually very successful quarterbacks. There was a third brother that you never hear about. So my theory
a fifth Beatle kind of thing,
my theory is that the third brother, they actually have somewhere as an organ donor for the other two.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, kind of like The Island.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I think that's a
So,
great theory.
That's a good one. That's one I would put on this new Kickstarter for conspiracy theories.
Good.
And I would try to raise some money so that I could investigate. And by investigate that, I mean just continue to talk about it, not actually look into it in any detail and try to prove or disprove the theory.
Right. It's longevity is important for conspiracy theories, and investigation can often have a negative effect on longevity.
And it seems like a lot of work.
It does, yeah. It's kind of a pain. But if you raised enough money on your conspiracy theorist Kickstarter campaign, you could fund someone else doing the work, but you would want to, kind of like Deep Thought, the computer in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, ends the debate about whether or not a computer should be answering the great questions of life, the universe, and everything by saying, but it's going to take a really long time, and while I'm thinking about it, you guys can continue to debate because that's your gravy train. So maybe part of the conspiracy theory thing is perpetuating the theory by very slowly investigating. Yeah.
Okay. So it's going to take me about 10 years to figure out that one. In the meantime, I'm available for booking.
Exactly.
On all sports shows and non-sports shows.
Yeah.
So really
anybody
show.
Can talk about that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you're on board for this one.
I'm on board. Let me say too that the idea
by on board, I mean you're funding it.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I am onboarding.
Yes.
Because we can make anything a verb now. That's what we do. You add ing to a noun and it is a verb in the new vocabulary.
Right.
In the new economy, I should say, success in business means something very different, I think, for business ideas like this, because now any idea you can come up with that puts the burden of funding somewhere else is going to go really well. And that's why we see great success for these companies like Uber and Airbnb and things that move the liability off of the central company.
Yeah.
So, and Kickstarter kind of, the same sort of theory.
Right. Yeah. They just wash their hands of it. This is this person's thing. They may deliver it. They might not.
Traditionally,
good luck.
Success in business, success of a business idea means something very different. Developing a product or service that is marketable. So you kind of have to evaluate a business idea these days by different standards. But by those standards, I think this new idea could fly.
Great. Perfect.
Next.
So
sharks are swimming.
So I need you to sign a contract.
Sure.
Because in a non-disclosure agreement, I guess this is the wrong thing to do then, is to talk about this on the radio. If I'm going to make you sign an NDA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's bad. Okay, so I'm sitting here with Marc Collins. Marc Collins, successful businessman. We're talking about some business ideas. And if you want to pitch your idea
to
Marc Collins, we won't actually answer the phone right now because we're on the air. But we might answer it when there's a song playing. So 407-646-2915.
Yeah, give us a shout. What was that number again?
407-646-2915.
Great. Thanks. I'm writing it down because I just want to maybe call and talk to you.
Yeah,
during the next break.
That would be great. And we're here. Marc is dedicating all day to being on WPRK. He's going to be here for the next 24 hours hearing ideas.
Less than 24 now. My flight is at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay, so less than 20, basically another 40 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, because you've been here for 23 hours and 20 minutes already. So thank you so much.
Sure. I wouldn't say it feels like it. It's just breezed by.
Yeah. Okay, so second, memories. right? Like I tend to look at my memories regretfully for the most part.
Okay.
And what I'd like to do is look at them in a much more positive light.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm thinking is when I go out and do things, what I'm thinking about is, oh, how much is this going to cost? Is this going to be good? And I tend to find that, my experiences aren't as good as they could be. So what I'd like to do
What,
is
your
figure
experiences or your memories of the experiences?
out, my memories of the experiences.
Okay.
Yeah. So it might be great at the time. It would be wonderful. Go to a concert and see Cowboy Mouth, for example, which we've seen a few times together. Yeah. But then later on, I'm like, looking at my statement and working on my bank check register, which, I don't do, but I could.
But if you did.
If I did, I would look at that and go, oh, that's $20 out of my pocket. And was it really that great? Because now I'm looking back on it with.
So is your business idea having a better outlook on life? Because I think that might.
That might help. So it's really just medication. No, it's okay. So
Therapy.
You hire a team of videographers, writers, actors, and others to make the event just unavoidably amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these people around you and they're
I
recording
don't know. Have you seen Michael Bay's film catalog? Just because you got a big crew doesn't mean it's going to be amazing.
I don't know what you mean by that. Michael Bay is remarkable.
Sorry, that was the sound of things blowing up because when you talk about.
Yeah. So you hire all these people.
Uh-huh.
And now that I think about it, now that I'm saying it out loud, it sounds very expensive.
Yeah.
So you're actually spending more money trying to get a better memory and not regretting what you've done. So I have an alternative. I'm shifting.
Okay.
I'm pivoting.
That's the new word. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pivoting right now. So what if you could insert memories into your head?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a secret agent on a mission to Mars.
You know this has been done. What was it originally called? It was We Can Remember It For You Wholesale. Was that the original short story? Total Recall was based on?
What?
The short story for Total Recall.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you need to get plugged back in to Total Recall, and we'll put Total Recall in your brain.
That's what I'm talking about. You could put a memory directly into your brain.
Yeah.
And so that way I don't have to go out and experience these things. Mm-hmm. I guess that would also cost money because we'd have to develop the technology, but that's...
Yes, it would. Eventually you're going
in.
to look at your check register and see that you've spent money and regret something. I think that's what I'm hearing here.
So this is not a good business idea.
This idea is sliding downhill, I'm afraid.
Okay.
If what you're trying to address is the regret over things like the expenses of I think this needs to be addressed with Outlook and not the Microsoft program. I think this needs to be addressed.
I was just going there.
By looking at things in a more positive light.
And you're saying inserting memories like a secret agent mission to Mars thing has been done.
I'm afraid it has been done more than once now.
Oh.
Yeah, cinematically more than once. The story's been told 3 times if you count the short story it was based on. Can anybody correct me on that? Is that what it was called? We Can Remember It For You Wholesale? I think that's what it was called.
Sure.
Might have been a Philip K. Dick story.
It was probably because every sci-fi
sci-fi is based on a Philip K. Dick short story. Yeah.
Gosh, let's go out there and get somebody new. Yeah. Well, this is To a Certain Degree. My name is Nick.
My name is Mark.
And this is 91.5 WPRK, Winter Park, Florida, the best in basement radio and the voice of Rollins College. Thank you for tuning in this morning. We're here from 7 to 9, so only a few more minutes left. So let's play another song and we'll pivot into something else.
So wait, what are you walking away from this business conversation with? Are you going to...
I feel like the second idea needs some work, so I'm going to leave that to you.
Okay.
And then the first idea you're going to fund completely, 100%.
Sure. I seem to remember saying that.
And that was the Kickstarter for conspiracy theories. And if anybody has a conspiracy theory that they would like to add, they can call us at 407-646-2915. Oh, there's a call.
Someone's calling.
While we're playing the song, Cayetana with Hot Dad Calendar on 91.5 WPRK, Winter Park, Florida. To a certain degree.
To a certain degree. And technically he started it, just continuing the conversation. Ridley Scott did the first Alien film, and Jim Cameron made it amazing, but Ridley Scott started, so he kind of has a right, I think, to keep telling alien stories.
So what you're saying is we should come back from our break in the middle of a conversation.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think people appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's not true, is it?
No. Good morning. My name is Nick.
My name is Mark.
And this is To a Certain Degree on WPRK, Winter Park, Florida. Neither one of those songs were Cayetana, which is what I said we would play, but we'll play that after
You know
Just
what?
right.
My musical ignorance is so great that I would totally have accepted that. So
Yeah.
maybe your audience is probably a good bit more musically savvy than I am, but you could have said that was Michael Ironside singing Total Recall, and I would have said, cool.
That would be great.
That would be great.
Total Recall.
Man, we need more
Total
Michael
Recall.
Ironside in everything.
Yeah.
Where is that guy?
Yeah, he's not looking well. He's not. His health is declining. We should send him a
Sorry
card.
to hear that.
Michael,
Is it
if you're
better or
listening,
worse than Overdog in Space Hunter? One of my favorite characters of his.
yeah, I think it's worse.
Oh.
Michael, if you're listening, our love goes out to you. Our hearts are with you. Our minds are elsewhere, but our hearts are with you.
Our bodies are with you. I think, yeah. Yeah. Come
Well,
on,
we
man.
heard
Michael
from-
Ironside.
Bell X1. So this was really for Michael Ironside. Eve, the apple of my eye from Music and Mouth. And before that, we heard from the Magnetic Fields with acoustic guitar from 69 Love Songs.
Nice.
And so one thing I wanted to talk about, because you're in a very transitionary state, is
I am.
the idea of home. What does home mean to you?
Yeah.
What does it mean in general? You know, is it a place? Is it a state of mind? Those sorts of things. But having that base, having that place where you can always go, where everybody knows that's Cheers.
Right, yeah.
Is important. And right now you kind of don't have that.
Yeah. A little backstory. My wife and I have moved to San Francisco recently. She got an amazing job out there, and my business is here, so it's taking me longer. She's moved out there, and I'm kind of back and forth. And it's tough because we both were born and raised right here in Central Florida. This has been my home for quite a few years. And now I've always traveled a lot, but now I don't really even seem to have like a place to kind of use as that home base. And I think Heather, my wife, had a very beautiful sentiment when we were talking about this a while ago, which is that for us, like, we are home to each other, kind of, wherever we are. And there's you can take a lot of comfort in that. And then it's tricky when we're not in the same place, because I'm traveling, she's there and I'm here, kind of thing. But we know where home is, at least that way. But we do come up with a kind of a really comforting sense of a location, a place, or at least I do. I kind of nest. Like I look for that place at the end of the workday to be surrounded by things that are familiar and that are comfortable, and where there is privacy, and where there's that's what home kind of means to me in that physical sense. But I mean, for you have, your story is very different. What I want to hear someone else's insight. I know what it means to me.
Right. To me, I've, and I think back to an extent, to a certain degree, about church. And so growing up in the Greek Orthodox Church, that always felt like a big component of who I was. So I grew up in a house until I was 13, 14 years old. And then we moved, and it was a bigger house. It was a different house, and it never quite felt the same. And then almost immediately after, my parents got divorced. So then it became a much different house for me. And then as I moved away from Daytona, that's where I'm from, and I got away from the houses, I never, apartments and renting homes and then owning a home, there was a little bit of, okay, how do I make this mine? And one of the things that always struck me was you have to have the ability to just pour in things and then kind of move things out. And sometimes you're such a pack rat. I come from a family of pack rats, that it's tough because getting rid of the stuff. Yeah. Maybe it only has a modicum of memory for you. Maybe it was important to somebody else, or maybe, nobody else has that interpretation. It's something you got on a trip, but nobody else has the same memory that you do. So does that become important, or is that comfortable anymore, for you? Like, for example, we were talking earlier about books that you read again later, and they don't have the same meaning. So why keep the book at that point?
Well, what a great example, because for me, my wife recently got me a Kindle, and I like to have paper books. I like to hold the book in my hand while I'm reading it. There are memories associated with the book. There are many books that I read kind of again and again. The Patrick O'Brian novels, of Aubrey and Matern in the Master and Commander series, the Lord of the Rings books. And I love having that actual book. So it's not just the memory of the story, but it's the memory of that. These are the pages I've looked at before. I might have, there's a hot chocolate stain because I don't drink coffee, or there's a wrinkled page, or there's a note or something I highlight in it that you can't experience electronically.
Right.
So
You
I
can
like
highlight
to.
stuff.
You
can
can
spill stuff on the Kindle.
You can also spill stuff on the Kindle.
Very easily.
Somehow it's just not the same.
Right.
But yeah, that's a great way to put it, because how do you physically manifest these memories? For me, I've always very much relied on stuff.
Yeah.
Like Bernadette Peters in The Jerk. I'm not gonna miss the money. I'm gonna miss the stuff. You know, I've manifested so many memories in that, and now as we have moved across the country and pared down a lot of our possessions, you kind of come to terms with the idea of home can travel with you. You know, in your memories, and the Maori tradition of inking their stories on their skin. You know, your story can really travel with you,
right?
And that maybe we can be less reliant on stuff.
And I would be remiss to talk about the show that we're currently listening to a certain degree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Nick, and this is Mark. Sorry, somebody called in and mentioned that some people might pick this up in the middle for some reason.
True, yeah.
You should be listening from 7 a.m.
really
to 9 a.m.
be starting at 7 because,
right.
Like Russell Crowe, we're bringing our game on take one, Ron Howard. So, something he said after They Made a Beautiful Mind.
So we're talking about, oh my goodness.
Because I'm doing my best work on take one, mate. Ron, you got to get your work up.
That's awful.
It was a bad Russell Crowe.
Great. But we're talking about home and, the memories of that and what makes you comfortable. And so very similar to that in terms of you need a book, and that same book that you've had for a number of years, that was really church for me. Because church, it was interesting. It's the Greek Orthodox, or at least where I came from, the Greek Orthodox, not sermon, but what do you call it? Not the ceremony, the
dogma.
Church dogma. Well,
no, I'm sorry. Yeah. My own prejudices just flooded in for a moment there. Sorry. Suppressing.
Yes, thank you. But the what you did at the church on Sundays was incredibly long. So you got there at 8:30, 9 o'clock. I was an altar boy, so we would actually get there like 7:30. And it would run to 11:30 or 12.
Oh, wow.
And technically, we did communion every week. So, to hear and to find out later that people only did communion once a month or something along those lines was really surprising to me because it was a once a week thing and you were supposed to fast. So during this experience where there was a lot of incense and there's a lot of imagery, so a lot of icons, a lot of gold, a lot of very, very ornate things going on in my particular Greek Orthodox church over in Daytona. So you were hungry and you were smelling incense and you were, it became
that's a deep sensory memory.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And so going to church now, any other church, even a Greek Orthodox church, which a lot of them have toned it down to appeal to a bigger audience. So the services are shorter. There's less of those things. There's not as much in Greek even. So, almost the entire service was in Greek when I was a kid. And so now it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what you're going through right now until you get that settled feeling. And especially with work. So you're also working from home.
Yeah, which
San Fran,
I hate. I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
I'm not good at that.
Really tough.
Because home is so kind of emotionally important to me, mixing the work with it and not having that physical separation is really hard. I don't want, I want to be able to stop that and go to a place that is comfortable and that is home. And yeah, I guess it's teasing out that I am, overly reliant on some very specific things, and that's helping me break old habits, which I guess is good, but it's tough as I am increasingly an old dog. And these are new tricks. Somebody should put those things together.
Are you literally an old dog?
I'm an old dog. I'm measuring it in dog years.
Oh my God.
Multiplying by 7.
So you're
280.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I was sorry. I thought you might be an older dog. All right. So let's play a song.
Yeah.
This is Cayetana on.
Wait, didn't we just play that?
No, I tried. I try so hard. Cayetana on WPRK, Winter Park, Florida. You're listening to a certain degree. My name is Nick.
My name is Morgan Freeman.
Oh boy. And if there's anything you'd like to hear, we only have a few minutes left and we may not be able to play it. Oh, I'd like to also thank Zach for calling in earlier.
Yeah, Zach had a great business idea as well as some perspective on other Philip K. Dick titles. Yeah, glasses you could wear that would make everything go in bullet time.
So just kind of
like
speed it
houseflies
up.
that experience life at a very different rate than we do, which is why they seem to move so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. Although it would create a kind of an HR nightmare, we determined.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your
I'm fine with
workday
that.
was in bullet time,
Yeah,
you'd hit OT after the first few seconds.
fine with that.
Yeah.
Because then you could go home.
Well, yeah, but that's because you're on the labor side, not the management side. What do you think management's going to think of that? They're going to suppress it, Nick. The 1%.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Although the 1% don't really.
And finally, Cayetana with Hot Dad Calendar from their album Nervous Like Me.
You have great taste in music. I know a lot of people have told you that, but you.
No one's ever told me that. I mean that literally. Like, no one asked me where I come up with these songs or...
We're all intimidated by your deep knowledge of them and your
I don't
ability
think
to curate these playlists.
So I do have a little bit of an explanation on my playlists and such. I did a quick video to interpret that for people in case anybody's interested. Yeah. You can go to acertaindegree.com.
Wait, you can go to...
Darn it.
It's the preposition conundrum, man. You can go to
acertaindegree.com. And you can see, so earlier we were talking about videos and the imagery of those videos. I'll add Sigur Rós in case you missed it. There's some really good ones on there and some really good ones that just create a sense of dread or inspiration, I think. Is,
I think if you can create if you can create an emotional pull using imagery, without dialogue or anything like that, then you're getting your story right.
Yeah. And so you can also see the video about how I pick music on there as well. And by the way, my name's Nick.
My name is Mark.
And Mark is my special guest. I'm here every Monday, except for next Monday, from 7 to 9. So I'm not here every Monday.
You're here just about every Monday.
I feel like I'm lying to people. And so Mark is on for a number of different reasons. He's, one of the reasons I brought you on is you're an expert at visuals, and we were talking about music videos. And you're a successful businessman. And so I pitched a lot of
pouring it on, man. Thank
businesses. You. Yeah, no, I'm going to hit you up for money.
Very generous of you. Oh, I see.
You're also have a theater background, which I do admire about you quite a bit. And so one of the things I wanted to start doing on the show was different characters. And so I've really been working on my improv and my voices. And by that, what I mean is I watched a television show that may or may not have been improv'd.
Okay.
I think. I'm not sure. It's called the Nightly News.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's just being reached for and drawn out. Yep.
And so I understand I think it's yes.
Also, wait.
Yeah.
It's
no. I thought it was just yes.
I think it's yes or
yes, maybe.
I forget.
Okay, so I want to work on a new character with you. So this is going to be totally improv. I've been working on this character for almost 10 minutes.
Okay, great.
I really feel like it's well developed as far as, because my own character I feel is very shallow. So I think 10 minutes is just enough time.
Just enough time to cultivate a new one.
Character.
Perfect.
So I'm going to get...
Okay, and let's take a moment to just express that a character, this represents more than simply a voice, right? A character represents a backstory, a set of motivations.
Correct. That
are going to drive that. And if you understand that, whether you're a writer or an actor or a director, if you understand those motivations, then the actions will make sense. And then the voice, therefore, which is all we're really going to get on the radio, that superficial layer, is going to be driven by all those motivators.
Right.
So let's see if you get that.
Ooh, okay.
So no pressure, but yeah, go ahead. Do a funny voice.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that. So glad you're on. Okay. Okay. You have to invite me in. I'm like a vampire.
Was that a...
It's not a vampire exactly.
Tring. Hello. Oh, that was a knock. I thought you were like knocking on wood for like, hello?
Oh, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Is this a radio show?
Yeah, it sure is. Sure is.
Can I be on your radio show?
I don't see why not. We seem to have extra headsets.
That would be great. Hello, my name is C. Donald Brisket. It's very nice to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you. Thanks so much for coming in.
C. Donald Brisket.
C. Donald Brisket.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not my God-given Christian name.
Well, I wasn't going to question that because in radio we usually don't use our God-given Christian names. In fact, I don't think that God gives us names, does he?
I think he does.
I thought it was a role of the parents, but
it's interpreted through the doctors.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Sure.
They kind of speak through the doctors.
I get that.
He kind of speaks through.
You have an interesting aroma. It's almost like a barbecue, like a very tender beef.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, that's aroma. That's really
I dab a little bit behind my ears because brisket, as I mentioned, is not my God-given name, but it is my favorite cut of jib of cut to the jib
cut
of
your
meat.
jib of your meat.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
I
no
love
reason
cow.
not to mix metaphors.
I love
Who doesn't?
cow.
Who doesn't?
Yes.
Even the Hindus.
So
Sure.
that's where the brisket comes from.
Okay, great.
And Donald is actually after our once and future president, my personal hero, Donald Trump.
Oh, sure,
Or
sure.
Drumpf.
Yeah, I just want you to know, just being very candid, I'm considering decapitating you right now.
Great.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'm being real honest.
So I feel like there's a lot of anger coming from you.
Yeah, there really is. You're getting that. Is it the gun I'm pointing at you right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's. I'm sorry.
Is it
I'm
because
glad
of
it's not
my-
regulated. Let's keep going down that road, shall we?
Is it because of my philosophy when it comes to my politics?
I think in terms of a total lack of a cohesive one,
Yes.
then sure. Yeah. I think that's the only thing that can possibly lead to that conclusion.
Right. Because obviously you're against making America great again.
Yeah, clearly that's the only possible explanation. Yeah, for wanting some level of rational thought and dignity in the
My
Oval Office.
understanding, somebody just left and he was telling me you're a very good businessman.
Thank you for spelling it correctly too. It is M-I-N at the end. That's a
Yes.
running theme.
like it,
I'm happy to have been somewhat successful in business.
Well,
Sure.
I too am a businessman.
Oh, great.
So what I'd like to do is talk to you about an idea that I have. It's something that I do. I look for, on the side of the road, I look for used air conditioning filters.
Sure. Who doesn't?
And I clean them up a little bit just so it looks nice. And then I sell them to orphanages.
Okay, great.
So again, I think that's a really good idea. What do you think?
I think I think it's really going to be a supply problem more than anything else. The
There's not
price of
enough
copper is really
orphanages.
high. So, no, I'm thinking more air conditioners on the side of the road.
I think we should have more orphanages.
Okay, sure. Yeah. With the surplus population and whatnot. Yeah.
Yes. I think that's a great idea. Thank you
Yeah,
for
I
that.
think, supply and demand. You got to work on both sides, I guess.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Sure.
So if I was to come into your office and I was to look around and I was to think about something to steal, what would that be and how would I go about it?
Oh, gosh. Well, actually, I've written an essay on that you can read on my website, toacertaindegree.com. You'd find high-end collectibles. You want to be looking for something that you can clearly and quickly pick up and carry that is of high value and easily transportable. So laptop computers, MacBooks.
I'm not sure. I'm not good with technology, though. I don't.
Well, you
really
don't need to be
understand how
because you just need to get it to the place where they will convert it to cash for you. Yeah. That's obviously it's a completely academic question. There's no practical application of this knowledge, which is why I feel like I can impart it to you. Very very transparently.
I feel like I've been using the wrong business plan the entire time.
Yeah, but you've given me the idea before I've given you the pound, and that's not good business, as the Pythons say. So you want to look for things that you can quickly and easily convert to cash, you can carry out fast.
Yes.
And if you're going in my office in particular, we've got a lot of sort of movie collectibles and things that may or may not be inconspicuous to carry out.
And that office is located
at 130 South Orange Avenue.
I have
Suite
to go
204.
now. Okay. Wait.
Yeah. Also, if you go to the website, there's directions too, and also good places to park a large, say, empty van or a truck, for example. You could park those there.
All right. I have to go right now.
Oh, sure. I can't imagine why, because I'm not great at pulling threads together. But I guess that's just a liability I'm okay with living with.
All right. Goodbye.
Oh, bye now.
Creek closed.
Tring.
All right.
Oh, that's fun.
That was good. I need to work on that one. I feel like a little bit more.
Well, I think you got the key elements right. You have a distinctive voice for him. There's an underlying philosophy there of kind of shadiness. So I think you got the foundational elements in place.
I mean, what I was trying for is someone who I wanted to aspire to be.
Now I'm actually thinking of decapitating you.
All right. Well, why don't we play a song? Oh, we only have time for one more song.
Okay.
All right. What should we play?
Gosh, I don't know.
Oh, that was been fun. Okay, so let's just wrap it up.
So, yeah.
In a bow. In a nutshell.
Yes, a bowed nutshell.
One of those.
Put it over there in a box. Put a bow on it. Wrap it up.
Pistachio. So this has been To a Certain Degree. I have been Nick.
I will continue to be Mark.
Oh, that's a good idea. I will continue to be Mark as well.
Perpetuity.
I will also be Mark.
Not actually in perpetuity, going back to that earlier conversation, but man, that was the low point for me, talking about mortality. So for the time being, I'll continue to be Mark.
Okay, very good. We're going to put some of this up on the website, toacertaindegree.com. You can always listen on WPRK.org if you, for some reason, cannot pick up the station, which you can't do if you're more than, say, 20 miles away.
Right.
And that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was a great conversation.
And to end the time together, we're going to hear from Lord Huron with The World Ender from the album Strange Trails.
Great.
Yay. Woo. Anything you want to plug?
No.
Okay.
No, I want to plug this radio show. You should continue to Nick, to listen to Nick to a certain degree Monday mornings from 7 to 9, except next Monday morning.
Where I won't be here.
When he won't be here. But yeah, I think he's got great ideas, and he's got a great ear for music. Don't let anybody tell you any differently.
Why would they tell people anything?
Oh, I'm not referring to any specific comments that people have constantly made about that, but I just want to dispel any possible... Because I'm not on social media.
So what are they saying?
Not on Facebook. Let's look at social media right now. Oh, look. Nick is amazing. It's my entire thread. Nick is incredible. Nick's got a great sense of music. Yeah, I think social media is in support of you. Actually, it's not visible to other people.
Oh, because it's your Facebook.
Because it's my So so
that's how that works.
If I turn the phone, it's a temporal art. It only is visible to my. If I turn it, it's not even. So just take my word for it.
You have amazing retina.
Gosh, thanks.
Okay.